Me to my first question, which is, you've been famous for your entire adult life. I've watched you handle fame, and I actually don't believe you because you're so nice about it. How do you deal with it?
Well,
That's worth applause, by the way. Boy, there's a lot of assholes out there.
That's right. I've been known in some circles to be an asshole too. Yeah. You know, the thing about fame for me is it's always important to remember that it's not a reality. You know, it's not. I don't know how to say this without feeling like I'm being too modest or whatever. But the reality of it is, it's not real. People think you are something that you're not. You know, and especially in my case with other musicians, I find that people will compliment me for things I've done or the way I play or something, and there's nothing I feel more self-conscious about than the way I play or the way I sing. I've sang with guys that, when I was doing sessions back in LA, I was always on sessions with these guys that, believe it or not, were guys of fame, like you say, like James Ingram, Luther Vandross, just a great bunch of guys, wonderful singers. And during the breaks, they would start riffing and kind of like do these little one-on-one riffing contests, at which point I would make an excuse to go to the bathroom. Because I was never one of those singers, you know, and I've gone through this business feeling, you know, it's in many cases like an imposter, because there are so many musicians who really truly do deserve the credit, who never get it, you know. I've known guys who have played better than any of us. Yeah, and they will never reach the success they reach, because it's a crapshoot, and it's not always because you deserve it. It's because you're just lucky to be in that one spot on that one day in that one moment, and you picked up the phone. And there's you got to remember that, you know, so that you know that it has more to do with it than anything that you've done since or before, you know.
Well, that's a perfect answer. I mean, I've seen you in action. I saw you last night with people coming up, and they're like, I met you, you know, 18 years ago. I proposed to my wife in the audience when you were playing. And it's like they've waited 18 years to reconnect with you. And that was, you know, a million audiences ago for you.
As long as I don't owe them money, I'm on it. That could be the case too.
By the way, is anybody curious at all to know the song we wrote?
Yeah.
I'll just play a few bars of it.
At my age, I'm curious too. I don't want to leave, I don't want to say goodbye. What you're after, you won't find in my eyes, and I want to do right. What a miracle that I remembered the words.
That may be a hit in my household, that's for sure. Writing with you. I have some one-word answer questions, okay?
Okay.
And I love doing this for people because I've sort of come across these 6 questions. They're rapid fire and no explanation. In this case, we should probably do some explanation, but it lets me know a lot about a person.
Oh, let me ask him. Can we get the monitors up just a little bit, Scott? Or do we don't have a monitor? Do we do? Yeah, just
1, 2.
Yeah, I want to hear David's voice a little clearer.
You're losing your hearing, aren't you?
I am, yeah. There's so much I'm losing. Really.
You know what we were discussing right before we came on here? Our back surgeries.
It's true. Well, you know, we grew up in the age of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and we have a lot more time now for drugs and rock and roll. little preacher to the choir, I can see that.
All right, here we go. First question: Beatles or Stones?
Oh, that's tough.
I was asking him actually, not you. But
Well, I would have to say the Beatles because they were probably the biggest influence on so many of us. You know.
me too.
Yeah.
Second question: Desert Island CD can only be one. I know they don't have CDs anymore, but if they did, it could be a greatest hits, but it cannot be a playlist for the rest of your life. One CD.
One CD. One song or one CD?
One CD.
One CD. Oh man.
Can be greatest hits.
I would have to say one of my.
So if it's like Britney Spears, you could take her whole greatest hits album. If that's, you know.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's good.
You take her.
Yeah, that would be better. Wouldn't have time. Well, you know, I would say Modern Sounds of Country Western, Ray Charles.
All right.
So I just want to deviate because usually I like to just do these rapid fire, but your answers, the reasoning must be very interesting. So why Ray Charles?
Ray Charles for me was my first. It was the first time I discovered soul music.
And you said that last night.
Well, I should say that I understood what soul music was, what it was at its heart. You know, his voice and his improvisation musically, but with when he sang, how he treated melodies, how he his piano playing, everything about it. It was like an aha moment for me as a kid.
And he was so loose, right? I mean,
but so incredibly genius, in the process. He was a guy who had great facility and rarely used what I'm sure he could have. But he wasn't a cowboy, when he played. He just was so thoughtful, and it meant something. There's a version of him singing Georgia in like Belgium somewhere. That is probably the most wonderful version that Ray Charles ever did of Georgia, and the record is pretty amazing. But that live version of his is just proof of what he was as an artist, what he could do in a moment. And they were only lucky to catch. I mean, not lucky because they were all great moments, I'm sure, with him. But to like 30 years later do that song even better than the record is amazing to me.
Yeah. Okay. Third question, and this has some rules to it. It cannot be a family member. Okay. Dead dinner date. But let me give you the parameters. Okay. We're going to know a lot more about him by the end of the sixth question. Okay. A dead dinner, somebody you'd like to have dinner with that's dead. It's just dinner. You can pick any age, any time of their life, young or old. Language is no barrier. It cannot be a family member, otherwise everybody would say, well, my great-grandfather or whatever. What's the last rule? They have to tell the truth.
Jimmy Hoffa. That's just the first thing that came to my head.
How about the second thing that came to your head?
They would have to tell the truth.
I would think it'd be somebody musical like Hendrix, but I don't want to influence you, but...
Well, gosh. I would say, you're talking about a musician, right?
No, actually, Jimmy Hoffa is a fine answer.
Yeah.
It really is. You want to stick with that?
Yeah, either him or, I don't know. I mean, it was where my brain goes with thinking about things is, Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't know, just would like...
See how much we know about him now?
I'm not saying it would be a fun dinner date, I'm just saying, I'd like to know the truth
I've
about
asked that question 1,000 times. Nobody's ever given me those answers. But anyway, there's no right or wrong. Okay. Fourth question, and this is a little bit weird for people like you and I because we have so much access, and so I'm imagining that anybody that you really wanted to have dinner with that's alive, you could reach out to in some way and you would get to them and have the dinner. But somebody that's alive that you would like to have dinner with.
I think I would love to have dinner with Smokey Robinson, and just to hear his history from him. You know,
Yeah. You should do that.
I should do that.
I can make that happen, and so could you, actually.
Maybe if you'd like to join us.
Well, sure. Thank you. Fifth question. Event in history that you would like to change if you could. That you would change if you could. Without taking into account the domino effect.
Right. Well, that's a tricky question.
Please don't say Jimmy Hoffa being buried.
Yeah. An event in history I would like to see change. I would have liked to have seen what the Kennedys would have done with their legacy. I would like to see where Martin Luther King would have brought us to this point, because I do believe those are three of the greatest Americans that ever lived. You know?
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. The final question of my 6. This is a weird one, okay? Branch of the military that you would be in if you had to be in one branch.
Branch of the military that I would be in if I had to, if I wanted to.
Well, you have to.
Yeah. You know, I don't really know. I mean, I know that a lot of guys who were musicians were enlisted into, the musical arm of
The army, the band, right?
The army band and stuff like that. I never really, well, first of all, I didn't read, so, but I never had a desire to do that,
No, I know that,
but
that's not the game.
But right, yeah. If I had to, I don't know, because my only thoughts on the military were, to be honest with you, at the time, I thought I was going to get drafted, and I would have gone because my dad was a Marine in World War II. We had a certain legacy in our family with. And there's no way I would have not gone, but I always thought that I would be that guy that got shot getting off the plane,
Before you even started.
Yeah, before I even stepped foot on the tarmac, But
you probably just sang, and they couldn't understand a word you said, so they let you out.
True. But yeah, I don't know. I never thought beyond that. I thought, if I have to go, I hope I live through it,
So
I
probably
can
the
get back
Marines because of your dad.
and, go to California,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to this perfect segue to, I want to talk about your childhood, and I want to talk about the book too, but your childhood, tell me about your childhood. You have a brother? I know you have a sister, right?
I have 2 sisters.
Yeah.
One older, one younger.
So what was it like growing up in the McDonald household? Were your parents supportive? Did you do music?
I wrote a book recently with Paul Reiser,
yeah.
and a large part of that book, the first part of the book, is about my childhood, and the reason I got kind of went down that rabbit hole, so to speak, was as I looked at it myself, I realized how much simpler life was at that point in time in the 50s.
I think everybody would agree with that.
Yes.
Of that ilk. Yeah.
And yet it was starting to get complex. I remember some of the first things that caused me to be fear. I think when we caused me to have fear when we were younger, little kids. We don't have many memories of that, but there are certain very vivid memories I think we all have of being 4 or 5, and they usually have to do with something we were very afraid of, or some kind of trauma or something. Unless it's a trauma that we purposely don't remember. But for me, I remember seeing the A-bomb in a newspaper article, thinking, who the hell's idea was that? It meant something that could wipe out everybody, in a minute, And then there was, shortly after that, prior to the 60s, racism was an issue, obviously, in our country. And I remember seeing it around me, in St. Louis growing up. And I remember thinking, it scared me. I don't know why, it was just something that I thought, how do we manage this? What is this all about? Why? To me, I remember as a little kid wondering, what does a black kid my age do on a Sunday afternoon like right now? Because if I were that kid, I wouldn't know anyone that I know today. I wouldn't know my family. I wouldn't know, you know, I just saw such a delineation, and it seemed so sad and frightening to me that as a little kid, you know, and I think back and I realize how indoctrinated into racist ideas and thoughts that we are, because I think most of us at that age would have seen it exactly the same way. Well, like, what the hell is this all about? You know?
Yeah, and St. Louis has and had a large black population, right?
Yeah, for a very long time. And I'm from Ferguson, and Ferguson's one of the greatest towns to this day to me. You know, I love going back there. You know, all my friends still live there. The guys I grew up with in high school and grade school, and it's
must be fun when he goes to a high school reunion. So, Mike, what you been doing? How's it going?
I avoid those.
You've never been to a high school reunion?
Well, no, not because there's other reasons I probably wouldn't want to show up. You know, but I do love going back, and I love seeing the community, you know, develop and change, and because it was a small town in the it wasn't even really thought of as the suburbs. It was the newly developing suburbs, and so much of it was because of demographic racism, you know, white flight, and these areas that were all of a sudden becoming, North County was becoming this area that was largely white, and you know, but you know, we all always did live together, you know, and even in Ferguson back then, it was just so segregated and so different, and again, you know, kind of frightening. I mean, you just wonder what we thought we were doing, you know, what we thought we were as a society, because we certainly weren't living up to anything that resembled.
Did you discuss it with your parents and your sisters? Was that a table discussion?
No, not much, never. You know, it was avoided, you know,
But you felt it, of course.
No, you know, when I became a teenager, it was more of a conversation I would have, and my parents believed as I did that it was unnecessary, and you know, they were fairly liberal people, you know, even though they were very middle class, typical working class people. They weren't hippies by any stretch, but they were very liberal. They were, you know, lifelong Democrats, and they believed that the government should work for all the people, not just a few.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, we all lived through the '60s, and I remember my dad, who he, you know, was not a politically, well, he was, I guess, you know, but I remember him watching Martin Luther King on television, and he said the funniest thing when it was over. It was just he and I sitting there, and it was early in the morning, and it was the speech on the mall, you know, and my dad said, just kind of almost to himself, he goes, he's got to hold us all accountable. And I think he was talking about the Constitution, and when he said that, and I think it was his understanding of what he went overseas and fought for, and that this is how it manifests, and this is what we have to believe in, you know. But that's all he said. He goes, you know, he's going to hold us accountable. And I remember thinking, yeah, you know, that's, you know, and wondering how this was all going to play out, because it never, you know, if you read any of the history of voting rights, especially in some states, you know, you realize the violence and the determination of people to not give the average Americans in a certain demographic, mostly black people, but in any, you know, any demographic that they didn't believe in or didn't want to see gain any power in this country, or just have their own rights preserved. The extent to which they would go is like frightening. How anyone couldn't stop and go, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't wrong. Well, we're seeing it today. You know, we're seeing it on the streets.
Still trying.
Yeah, you know, you can say what you want about what happened in Minneapolis, but if you're an average woman and you're sitting in a car and you got some guy violently pulling on your doorknob going, open the fucking door, are you going to just go, oh, sure, well, if you put it that way, sure. Yeah, let me just open my door for you, you know. And another guy has a gun drawn on you, you know, and as far as that guy goes, you know, hey, you know, if you've stood in front of a car, you know, they were talking about it, the trauma he experienced having stood in front of another car not long ago and had it try to run over him. I think that was maybe more Darwinian natural selection going on there, you know, because if a month later you're standing in front of another car, you know,
It's your time.
maybe you need to have your foot run over, you know. Yeah, I mean, this is country where we're at right now is frightening. It's scary. We have goon squads roaming the streets, terrorizing the citizens of this country. It's not okay by any standards politically or certainly not morally, you know. And I'm not going to, I swore I wouldn't get into this, but, you know, we've got a paranoid derelict in the Oval Office, and we need to do something about that.
It's tough out there right now, but for me, going sort of back to your childhood, I grew up in Canada, on an island in Canada, a small island, and I didn't see what you saw. I didn't see any of that because there was none of that where I grew up. So it's kind of a shock when I finally came to LA at age 20 to seek my fame and fortune and all that.
Well, it's frightening to see America take the place of all the world's greatest villains, you know, because you know we're taking our place as the world's next great villain. This gunboat foreign policy of you know, we're gonna you haven't done anything to us, you know, like Greenland, for instance, perfect example. They've only been an ally, you know. They've let us put our military bases in there. They're our ally in NATO. So, you know, why are we attacking Greenland? Because we want their resources. So, you know, we come up with a reason for national security. It has nothing to do with national security.
That three-letter word always comes up: oil. Like wherever, right? It's just it's always
so
lurking.
We're gonna invade you because we want your resources, and that throughout history, that has said one thing about whoever's doing it is that they need to be stopped, and people will deal with us the same way if it doesn't stop.
Well, on that
we can't
note,
stop it ourselves. You know.
On that note, I'm going to go to the piano.
Please.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm only going to be here for 12 bars, less. But I want to, like, the song Georgia, we talked earlier about the song Georgia, right? Georgia?
What song is this?
Georgia? Remember Ray Charles?
Georgia, yeah.
Ray Charles was a tall.
Yeah.
So let me just play a few bars, then I want you to sit down and play it the way Ray played it, okay?
Oh gosh, don't know.
Georgia?
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. Just that old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
Okay, now your turn.
You're
Let's hear
not
how
gonna
Ray
make me
would
do
do
it.
it.
You know what? Can I change up the song?
Sure.
Because I don't really know Georgia. Much as I've loved hearing Ray sing it. Another Ray Charles song. You give your hand to me. Then you say hello. I can hardly speak. My heart is beating so. Oh, anyone can tell. You think you know me well. You don't know me. No, you don't know the one who dreams of you at night, who longs to kiss your lips, longs to hold you tight. To you I'm just a friend, that's all I've ever been. You don't know me. I never knew the art of making love, though my heart aches with love for you. Afraid and shy, I let my chance go by, chance you might love me too. You give your hand to me, then you say goodbye. I watch you walk away, sign that lucky guy to never know the one who loves you so. You don't know me. You don't know me.
That's my. Before you leave the piano, yeah, beautiful. You do other people's songs. You did at least 2 Motown albums, right?
Yeah.
But is there a song in particular that you wish you had written?
Oh God, every one of them. Yeah. Songs that I wish I had written.
You know, there's a song. Let me stand up. There's a song that I wish I'd written, many, but in particular, there's a song by Mike and the Mechanics. Mike and the Mechanics called "The Living Years." Do you know that song?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I hear that and I just like want to burn my catalog. It was like, you know, just burn all my songs.
That song. Yeah.
Paul Carrick, yeah. But is there a song like that that you just, you know, maybe Titanic by Celine Dion?
You know, so many off the top of my head. I mean, that one for sure.
Yeah.
But gosh, any of the Ashford Simpson songs, I always loved those songs. I always thought that they really spoke to us, as you know.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, let's move on to the book.
Yeah.
Were you friends with Paul Reiser? Did he reach out to you?
We knew each other for quite about 20 years prior to that. I met Paul playing a party next door to his house. I was the entertainment. Excuse me. And he was at the party and we got to talking and he invited me over to his house because he had a studio and he had 2 pianos back to back.
Is he a musician? He's a musician?
Yeah, he's a great piano player.
Paul Reiser?
Yeah.
When you say great, let's verify. Great.
Better than me, you know. I mean, you know, I'm a very formally trained classical piano player. Has a background in jazz music. He majored in piano in a college, you know. But we, you know, just got into our favorite. He's a pop music enthusiast, you know. So 70s music, he had nothing but questions for me, and I would tell him these stories that were usually kind of funny and you know in their own way. But and he was just delighted by all that, and he'd always say, you know, you should write a book. And I'd say, well, after he said it a few times over the years, I said, I would, especially now that it's the pandemic and I have nothing else to do, you know. I wouldn't know where to begin, and I would never get it done. He goes, I'll help you, you know. So with his help, we wrote this book, and like I said, it has a lot to do with just growing up in the '50s and how music kind of developed around us, you know, pop music. And
Is it called What a Fool Believes? No.
What a Fool Believes.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a bestseller.
It was a bestseller, yeah. Well, it was the week that no one else released a book. You know?
Typical Mike. All right, we're going to do now I want to go to the audience and get a couple of questions, okay? And seeing as how you stuck up your hand right away, go ahead.